Hello, and welcome to the Franchise Life. I am your host, Stacie Shannon. Today, we have two special guests with us. We have John McKeown, who is a franchise owner in the Charlotte market. And we also have Brittany Blackman, who is the franchise development director for the brand SprayNet. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brittany, let's go ahead and start with you. So, SprayNet is a painting concept, but it is unlike any other painting concept out there. So, this is an area in home services where I get challenged a lot when I do present painting because there's a lot of competition out there. And sometimes it's hard to find differentiators, but with SprayNet, that absolutely is not the case. So, why don't you give us an overview of what SprayNet is?
Sure, I would be happy to. We could not be more excited about SprayNet. So our history is that we are founded by a man named Carmelo Marsala, who is a Canadian, a Canadian Italian man from Montreal. And he was a college pro painter. So if anybody is familiar with college pro painting, that's a franchise. It's about a year long, and it is for painting for college students in areas where there's really a short season for painting, like the North. And what he found during that experience and then later on opening his own painting business is that he had to continue turning down jobs for surfaces that conventional paint simply wouldn't adhere to, or at least in a way that he could be proud of. Surfaces like windows, fascia, soffits, gutters, brick, doors like front doors, garage doors. And so with that idea, seeing a big hole in the market, he started developing his own proprietary coatings. And these coatings are specifically manufactured for each of these different surfaces. And we've expanded from exteriors, including vinyl siding, aluminum siding, all those that I mentioned prior. And now we're expanding into interiors. So for the last few years, we've manufactured coatings for kitchen cabinets. And what we can do with kitchen cabinets is we can actually coat those or paint them in a way where we restore them to that beautiful factory finish. We can restore the durability and guarantee that finish without chipping, peeling, or cracking for up to 15 years. And we can, the most important thing is we can actually do that within 2 to 3 days. So now our next biggest thing is we're actually going to be coating roofs. So we are adding new granules and sealing them to asphalt shingle roofs, which is going to extend the longevity by a huge amount of years. But with that, we can also change the color. So SprayNet is completely unique. We're one of the only franchises in the world with patented technology. And folks like John, who's with us today, are absolutely crushing it in this market. And I'm excited to hear from him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so John, let's go ahead and turn to you. I mean, you live and breathe this. So, what is your background? So, before we dive into your life as a SprayNet franchisee, what brought you to this point? Did your previous life look like?
Well, so I was a sales director in the corporate world, suit and tie every day, working the 9 to 5 grind, and I just got sick of putting in the time and effort and someone else reaping all the rewards. So it was time to make the jump and do something for myself. And so far so good.
Well, congratulations. Okay, so let me ask you, when did you sign the franchise agreement, and how long did it take you to get this business up and running from signing till having your first customer experience?
So I signed the agreement and incorporated in March 2021. And by August 2021, we were up and running and painting houses and making people happy. So not a whole lot of time from like planning and preparation to actual execution, which was nice because, with any new business, you want to get revenue coming in as quickly as possible. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
So, okay, so Brittany, back to you. This is a proprietary patented product. I mean, it's one of a kind. You're able to paint on surfaces that traditionally have not been able to be painted. So, what is I guess, what's the supply chain process look like for franchisees? And what type of training do you provide for franchisees? I mean, here we have John, who came from a sales director role in the corporate world, and now he's a master SprayNet owner and learning all about these paints and so forth.
So we manufacture our own coatings, and then they're either shipped from Montreal or we have a distribution center in Miami. And we do a tremendous amount of training, even since John has come on board. So now we offer about 5 weeks of in-person training at our Miami distribution center. And that's a week of operations training and then a week of application training. And then we do about 3 weeks of in-person training in the territory with our franchisees and their teams. The first week is going to be sales. So we'll go on sales calls with our franchisees, with one of our coaches. We'll sit with them during a trade show and talk with potential customers. And then we do 2 weeks of production training. First week would be kitchens, and then the second week would be exteriors, so that our franchisees are ready to go and hit the ground running.
And this is somebody from corporate that comes on site to help each franchise owner in their local market, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
So, John, what was that experience like for you? And was that one of, I would say, one of the hooks that got you to invest in this brand specifically?
I wouldn't say it was a hook. It was definitely a benefit. The hook for me was that every one of the brands I was looking at, they're doing the same thing as 15 other companies. When researching SprayNet, there was not another company that had a similar warranty or a similar patented process. And it was the only way to get the coatings that SprayNet makes. You can't buy them at, Lowe's or Home Depot or direct ship to the customer or anything. You've got to get them as a consumer. You've got to get the SprayNet coating through a SprayNet franchisee, and that they have to apply it and all that stuff. So I would say that the biggest hook was the quality of the coatings and the 15-year warranty, and making things look brand new, and then the 15-year warranty. So that was the hook. The training was definitely a benefit. Our trainer his name's Gab, which in Canada, I guess, instead of Gabe, short for Gabriel, he goes by Gab, but he's quite a character. And he was one of the original, SprayNet employees when Carmela started the company. So it was very good having him come down and share, really decades of knowledge with my crew.
What what else would you say are differentiators from a corporate standpoint as far as marketing goes, operations, and so forth?
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a turnkey marketing package on the digital side for our SprayNet franchisees. So we actually manage a large portion of the franchisees' marketing budget, and we place ads for them on, Google and Facebook and things like that. And it's generating a large amount of leads. We also have an in-house call center. So when people are responding to those leads, they're actually connecting to our home office in Canada. And then we are placing those sales calls on the calendars of our franchisees. And our franchisees, especially for people like John, who operate in a really large territory, they're setting up specific days for specific areas and zones to work with those leads and reduce the amount of time that they're driving back and forth. In addition to that, there's a large part of doing boots on the ground marketing, meaning connecting with contractors, doing trade shows, identifying appropriate magazines that showcase home services businesses. And John's been really great at identifying a lot of those local opportunities and building up a big network of referrals. John, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I would be happy to. So our success in marketing has come from, like Brittany mentioned, magazines. There's a couple of the higher end kind of neighborhood magazines that have done real well as far as doing advertorials there. So instead of just a logo with a before and after, we kind of wanted to tell the story to get the brand out there, because I mean the story, including the 15-year warranty and the custom coatings and the alternative to replacement, is just as important as a pretty before and after photo. So the magazines have been very lucrative. And then just like anything else in sales, networking is key. The more contractors, interior designers, realtors that you've got on your team, the better. And we've been very fortunate to team up with several of them, and that's been very helpful in terms of some low cost marketing or free marketing.
And John, what would you say, going back again to your previous experience of being in the corporate world, what would you say are the most important skills that have transferred to you being a successful franchise business owner today?
I would say, I guess corporate world skills, I would say sales and recruiting. Sales, because if you can't sell jobs, it's impossible to produce jobs. And then recruiting, because we've in Charlotte, compared to a lot of other areas and a lot of industries, we have not had a personnel issue. So I think the years of experience in finding people quickly when you need them definitely translated well here. We have not been in a position where we were understaffed or couldn't produce jobs because of personnel issues. So that's been a nice stressor that I know a lot of companies have that we have not. So it's good not to have that problem.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, that is one of the biggest fears when going into business ownership is personnel, because you're so heavily dependent. What would you say is your key to success in that sense of being able to recruit and retain your employee base to date?
Well, I've always believed in recruiting off of character and attitude as opposed to skills. I believe skills can be taught. So really just recruiting people of good character who have a positive attitude, people who don't get discouraged when something goes wrong, or if they do get discouraged, they're able to kind of put their head on straight, figure their way around the problem, as opposed to just, throwing in the towel. I try to find people like that and then teach them the skills they need, as opposed to, higher skills and hopefully they have the right attitude. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so you are going on, you signed in March 21, you opened in August 21. So almost a couple years under your belt or getting there. What have been the biggest aha moments for you as a new business owner with SprayNet?
That is a good question. I haven't really thought about that. I think the biggest fear coming into it was, how is this Canadian product and service and patented application going to translate to the U.S. market, where, in the United States, there's been one company in paint that is sort of the household name and has been for, I think, over 100 years. That was the biggest, I guess, mental hurdle to overcome, is how do we get through to customers that there is an alternative, that we can do a better job and provide better value than these guys who have been doing it forever. And that has translated very, very well to the United States customer base. They love value, they love the 15-year warranty, and they love the fact that we're not traditional painters. We're an alternative to replacing the siding or kitchen cabinet doors or, windows, doors, brick, vinyl, whatever on their home. So that's been kind of I know that doesn't exactly answer your question, but I don't know what I would consider an aha moment. That makes sense.
No, that's great insight. And, one thing, and I've heard you say this a few different times, that this is not, you don't look at it as a painting company, but a replacement service. And I think that is pretty profound because that really does, at the end of the day, set you apart from others in the space per se.
Sure.
Brittany, we've learned what John's background has been, what attributes, in essence, have lent to his success to date. What does the ideal, if there is one, but what does the ideal candidate look like as a franchisee for SprayNet?
So the ideal candidate is one who is either looking to do this full time as an owner operator, as John's doing, and build up a team from the ground up so that he can quickly replace his, sizable income that he left when he became a business owner, but also be able to step back from the business and not work in it full time. Or we're looking for somebody who has enough capital to hire a GM who can do just that on behalf of the owner. Really, the two big things that cause a franchisee in any system is not putting in enough time and effort, or having the grit to make it through the hard times, or not having enough capital. And so what SprayNet is really looking for is somebody who has grit, has determination, that's going to make it through the hard days of being a business owner, and who also has the appropriate amount of cash and capital to build a big business.
Grit and determination. I cannot tell you how many times I hear that, especially from founders of businesses and franchise concepts. And, having owned several businesses myself, you have to roll with the punches, and not every day is going to be rosy. So those are amazing attributes. Okay, let's talk financials, Brittany. So the investment range for a single territory is going to be between 132,000 and 184,000, and that includes an initial franchise fee. Um, From an item 19 standpoint on what the financial opportunity of this business looks like, and what you can share that's reflected in the franchise disclosure document for SprayNet, what does the financial opportunity look like, and what are some of those percentages?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So we're really proud to say that on average, our franchisee is booking just under $1 million a year in sales, right? I believe it's 963,000. That's what's reported in the FDD a year. That is in Canadian dollars, because right now all of our franchisees listed in the FDD are Canadian. This coming year will feature our US-based franchisees. But I think what's most important is the average job size and our average gross margin. Our average gross margin right now is right at 60%. And for those of you who aren't aware of what that means is we can keep our labor cost and our product cost to right around 40%. So really, when somebody is considering a home service business, they really want to look at that gross margin percentage, because everything under that line is basically going to be the same amongst different franchises. You'll have your royalty, you have your marketing fees, you have your truck and trailer payments, you've got your insurance and gas and repairs and things like that. So the question becomes, do you want to put a percentage? Do you want to put 60% toward your expenses and your personal bottom line on a big job like $6,500 on average, which is what ours is? Or do you want 1,000 jobs at $250 or $100 a year to build a business on? And so with SprayNet, we're really proud that we maintain a very high gross margin on a very high average job size. And folks like John who are focusing on exterior work, their average job size is actually much higher. So there's huge opportunity within SprayNet. We have 7 different revenue streams, so we can capture interiors and exteriors across the US and Canada in a huge way. And again, as John's saying, we're really not competing against anyone. We're really competing against the cost of replacing these items. And that's where SprayNet really stands out.
What a great value proposition. Okay, John, I'm going to bounce back to you for one last question, and that is validation. So, one of the most important, I guess, stages I would say in the discovery process when you're deciding which brand to go with is validation and talking to other owners in the system. Can you talk a little bit about what your experience was like in that respect?
Yeah, so I guess I had a very different experience than our newer franchisees, just because I was talking to, I was one of the original, U.S. franchisees. So I guess there was one American franchisee that I spoke with who was here before me, but everyone else was in Canada. So it was sort of bouncing questions off them and trying to figure out if all of this would translate or not to the U.S. market. So now, franchisees coming in, they've got, I'd say, at least 20 or 30 people that are up and running in the US that they can bounce questions off of and talk to about their experience and stuff like that. So, but it was, I mean, the franchisees, whether it's talking to prospective buyers or whether it's talking to each other, there's a lot of communication back and forth, and it's a really good group of people to bounce ideas off of. They're also happy to answer questions. So it's a good group of folks.
Excellent. Okay, Brittany, on a last note, you just mentioned seven different revenue streams that SprayNet has. What would you say are the top three revenue streams out of those seven that really comprise those numbers that you shared?
Well, you know what? It's going to look different in each market, right? Because in Florida, really all we have are stucco homes, which is a huge opportunity. When you look at places like Ohio, North Carolina, the exteriors of those homes are going to be vinyl siding, aluminum siding. And so, coating those rather than replacing them that's exactly what people are looking for. Really, I think what's most exciting right now is the kitchen opportunity. I think that painting windows is a great tool as well, a great opportunity because people are moving away from white windows and looking for black. But really, it's going to depend on the market, and I think that's what's so exciting because we can capture so many different communities and be very targeted in our marketing without blanketing and providing just one service and hoping that enough people have it. We can actually tailor what we do to the communities that we're working in.
All right. Well, SprayNet is, you guys have been fabulous. Thank you so much. And John, wish you nothing but the best in the Charlotte market, and I'll be excited to connect with you in a year or two to see how your business has grown. For anybody that is interested in learning more about SprayNet, please feel free to reach out to me at Stacie@fusionfranchising.com. Thanks and have a great day. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time and